NRL news then, and the biggest story this week is the confirmed news of Matt King as the Blues head coach. What do you think he is capable of? Obviously, it takes him out the running for the St. Helens job. The Saints were hoping they were going to get his name across the line, but how good is it that they've got someone in the camp who's already been part of a winning culture? Obviously, they've just won the State of Origin. How highly do you rate this move for Matt King to the Blues?
Well, he's been on the cusp, hasn't he, in terms of being an assistant for a long time in the NRL. And let me tell you, he was a phenomenal player at Warrington. So I think it's a great move. I think it's always better when you've got some continuity at a club, where you keep staff around, particularly winning staff and staff that have been part of winning cultures and winning teams. He looked delighted this morning when I saw a little snippet before I went off to the gym, and he looks proud as punch to be the New South Wales head coach.
He does.
I think he'll do a great job. I think he understands the players. He's got he's looking for, but one thing he did mention, what I saw was, if you're a New South Welshman, I'm looking forward to being part of a journey with you. It's not about him. It's not about his staff. It's about players. It always is about players. And he made it that way. So, I think it's a great move by the New South Wales board. And I wish Matt King very well with it. A shame to see Laurie go. I will say that. I think the media attention and the unfairness of the media during the last State of Origin series has probably made his mind up. I felt it was unfairly attacked and personally attacked for other agendas and other journalists' agendas over in Australia, which is poor form. Well done to Laurie Daly. He certainly answered his critics, and Matt King will hope he can carry it on.
He also goes out on a winning series. Laurie, he goes out, he's shut all the critics up. It's a big FU to the journalists who are bagging him the whole series. So this is a good time for him to step back. He's done the job that he was employed to do.
Dan. He made some brave calls, didn't he? When you look at the team selections, particularly around the spine of the team and the halves, and you live and die by the sword, and you're right, the big FU to everybody from Laurie Daly with a series win.
So we wait to see how well Matt King will go. I'm sure he'll do really well with the Blues. Next piece of news, and it started to circle again. Herbie Farnworth to the Sydney Roosters. The rumours have started again. He is a November 1 guy, so he's going to be open to speak to clubs at the 1st of November. Also coincides with James Tedesco is able to speak to clubs from the 1st of November. Could you see this move happening, firstly? And secondly, could you see Herbie playing as a fullback at the Roosters?
Yeah, I think you can see it. I think he'll need some time to adjust. I think he'll certainly need a pre-season to train there. He's a brilliant centre, by the way. Probably the world's best with Crichton if he plays in the centre, but he's moved into the halves as of now with the Dogs. But I can see it, and I think you never say never with the Roosters.
No,
the Roosters have got an uncanny knack of getting players over the line and bringing them in, particularly big players. When you think about the Daly Cherry Evans and the Cooper Cronk one before the last grand final win, Cherry Evans this year could end up in a grand final win. They signed some big players. Dom Young went over there. I know it didn't work out, but that was a big signing for the club. They find a way, don't they? Like Spencer Leniu, another big signing, Brandon Smith. So, you look at Herbie Farnworth. If you're one of the world's best centres and you're coming off contract and you're one of the world's best centres, then why wouldn't you wait while November 1st? Unless there's a huge offer from the Dolphins, which means your head shouldn't be turned if you're happy where you are. And I can't see that the Dolphins haven't tried to offer Herbie a contract. So, maybe it's not enough for Herbie, or maybe the Roosters have got to him early.
It just seems like it's all aligning for this move to happen, because if you've got Tedesco and Herbie off contract at the same time, they're on about, they've let Connor Watson go because he's going to the Dragons. He's going to onto the Chiefs. There's been talk all season that Spencer Leniu is going to be going. Daly Cherry Evans is potentially retiring.
So he is retiring, isn't he?
So then all that cap space is then becoming available. So it's almost like they're aligning themselves ready for this move to
It's
all
almost
unfold.
like they've got a recruitment plan.
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah, yeah.
It's almost like they're thinking, a year ahead and
Yeah.
2 years ahead, which is what recruitment's all about, mate. So
Yeah.
I can see it happening. I certainly can see it happening. You see, the thing with the Chiefs is it's going to free up a lot of cap space. I can't see I've had this conversation with a couple of people over the last couple of days. When you think about the best players in Super League here now in
Yeah.
Wigan's team particularly, why wouldn't Willie Peters want to take some of them?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Willie Peters want to take some of a Lockie Miller, a Jay Field, a Bevan French? Bevan's probably in his 30s now, maybe not. But you look at some of the players that are still in the mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Willie Peters be thinking about them for 2028?
Yeah.
So you already look at the spine of the team that he's trying to put together with Luai, possibly Cameron Munster. They need a fullback. They've got players coming through the door, and players want to join the PNG Chiefs for the tax-free money. So why wouldn't the best players over here in Super League be thinking about the PNG Chiefs?
Yeah, it's that one that especially Jai Field from Wigan, that would make sense. He's an out and out fullback. And
I'm copying
Chiefs.
it, Dan. I'm copying it on social media for saying Wellesby to Wigan and maybe Field wouldn't be there in 2028.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Chiefs. I'm thinking NRL and Chiefs. Or Perth Bears is a year too early because he's still under contract, and so is Wellesby next year. So, I may be completely wrong. In which case, I'll hold my hands up. Wigan may decide to keep Jay Field, or Jay Field may decide to stay. A lot will depend on what his personal situation is with family, particularly wives, girlfriends, when they're over here. I know he's been over here quite a while already, but I think there's certainly the world of rugby league is rocked by the tax-free money at PNG, which is a little unfair because they've got players wanting to join PNG rather than having to recruit.
No, I completely agree with that. I can see. I'm not so much sold on the idea of Wellesby to Wigan. I can see all the jigsaw pieces, but with the field to the Chiefs, I can definitely see that happening. I just see. Yeah. I look at over the last few weeks, like going off topic a little bit. Over the last few weeks, you take that form of Wellesby's out. Look at the gap from then back to when he scored the winning try in COVID against Wigan, and have a look at his performances over that period. Yeah, he's had a few injuries, but I don't think he's at Wigan standard, in my personal opinion.
But I also think, Dan, with that you've got to understand that cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
Just because you're not great for you. Some people have dips in form that last only a few weeks. Some have injuries which last a year.
Yeah.
You certainly know that with a quality environment that Jack Wellesby could get back to.
Yeah.
He'd get back to his best.
Agreed. Yeah. No, I
agree. Listen,
I'll
say this: it's not a monetary move for Jack Wellesby. It'll be a monetary move for Jay Field to go to the PNG Chiefs.
Yeah,
because it's tax-free money.
Yeah.
There'll be a monetary part of it in his head. For Jack Wellesby, should he miss the World Cup this year, Dan, and Saints miss the 6, he's not going to play rugby league from September the 11th until the World Cup if he gets picked. If he misses out on a World Cup place, that would easily make my mind up to go to a club that's a champion club like Wigan.
Yeah.
Because you want to be back in the international scene.
Yeah.
So there's lots of moving pieces in it, and I've just got a funny feeling. Wigan have, from what Sam Tompkins and John Wilkins said on Sky during a game recently, Wigan threw a boatload of cash at him before, and he stayed at Saints because Saints were travelling well.
Yeah.
But Saints aren't travelling well.
No, they're not.
And it might not have to be a boatload of cash because of his form now. It might just have to be a decent enough contract that he wants to play back at international level and decides that Wigan's the environment that he can do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. We'll see how it all unfolds, and if the move does come off, you might have to have a conversation with how much hammering he's going to take when he goes back to Saints to play against them.
So listen, that's irrelevant, mate. Trust me, I've been there and done that. It's irrelevant. Players make decisions for their own personal reasons, and I couldn't sit there as an ex-player or even the most ardent St Helens fan and say Jack Wellesby's gone to Wigan and that's a disgrace, but he's doing it for his international career. or he's doing it and he's not doing it for financial gain. I just couldn't sit there and say anything other than, can you blame him? Particularly with the way the club's at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on, Shawn Blore has agreed a 2-year deal with the Brisbane Broncos. He's obviously been at the Melbourne Storm. I was surprised, obviously, the way the Storm have been struggling. They didn't try to keep hold of Shawn, but it's a massive, massive signing for Brisbane. I think he'll go well at the Broncos, especially with Madge being there.
Well, the cap space freed up from Haas moving to the Rabbitohs, and obviously Reynolds is probably going to finish. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm guessing Reynolds is probably going to be done, moving to a coaching role. So there's going to be some cap space there, and a big signing, as you say, for Brisbane Broncos. There's a bit of a rebuild there, isn't there? They're likely to miss. Well, they are going to miss out on the 8. There's no question. Now after last week's defeat, so I just think there's a bit of a rebuild there. There's a bit, Madge is obviously a really shrewd coach, a tough coach. He goes from one tough environment under Craig Bellamy to Madge Maguire, and we wish Shawn all the best. He's certainly a wonderful player, that's for sure.
Yeah, he is. Next piece of news, because we touched on PNG. Going back to PNG, Anthony Seibold, former Manly Seagulls head coach, has been announced that he's going to be Willie Peters' assistant. Good move.
Yeah, absolutely. When you can get anybody that's been a head coach in an environment as your assistant, then you've basically got 2 head coaches, haven't you? You've got 2 people that are firing ideas off each other. Willie's shrewd. Willie's smart. He's obviously turned down the opportunity to be part of the national squad again this year, to concentrate on everything that he needs to do with PNG. So he ruled himself out of the England job when he was probably one of the favourites to take over for this year's World Cup. He's got his eye on PNG, and why wouldn't he? At the minute, he's not got a great deal of work to do with those above him to get people into the joint because they're queuing up at the door.
Yeah, sitting on the fence with it a little bit, playing devil's advocate. If you're Willie Peters going into a brand new NRL franchise as the head coach, and the club have brought in another head coach alongside you, would you feel undermined at any point or for any reason that, it could be kind of conflicting? Or would you rather have that strong personality, experienced person by your side?
Well, I'd sooner have it because I wouldn't feel threatened. Listen, if you tell me that there's a coach in the world that knows more about rugby league than another coach, or has got better ideas than another coach, I'll call you a liar, because everybody's got different ideas. And there's so many times that people have come to me when I've been coaching and said, have you ever thought about this? And then all of a sudden I'll think about it and I'll never dismiss it. Even a player comes up, 9 times out of 10, a player will come up and say, what about this? What about this? And if I feel it's wrong, I'll tell them to get stuffed. But if I feel it's the right thing for the team, then we'll go with it. So I don't think... I think there's too many coaches that maybe would feel undermined, but I don't think Willie's one of them, and I don't think there's too many of them in the NRL. I think there's lots of coaches. Flanagan's an assistant now, and he's been a head coach for a long time. I think there's lots of assistants that have been head coaches in the NRL or even over here. So I don't see it being an issue for Willie. I'd certainly welcome it as a coach. I would want as much experience around me, particularly if you're going into your first NRL job.
The only reason I asked that question is because obviously the circumstances are quite different at PNG. They're going to be in a confined space, confined area, all living as one happy family. You want that right recipe from the off, don't you?
I would have thought, Dan, that there's been plenty of conversation and dialogue between Willie and Anthony. I can't see Willie choosing somebody who he's not going to get on with, or he's not going to be able to bounce ideas off. But ultimately, I mean, I've banged heads with some head coaches when I've been an assistant. But ultimately, once the decision's made, you leave the office, you're on board with the head coach. It's as simple as that. There's one boss, and that's it.
Agreed. Last bit of NRL news. Going back to the Raiders, and obviously we know they've been shifting a lot of cap space around. The likes of Papali, he's going to be retiring, we think, unless his Super League move comes off. Morgan Smithies is obviously leaving for the Perth Bears. They've now tabled 2 new extensions. Ata Moriata, the big front rower, powerful player. I really like Mariota, and obviously the young Colonel Ethan Sanders getting his extension. I think his first full season, obviously following in the footsteps of Jamal Fogarty, is always going to be difficult for anyone. But I think he's done quite well. I know the Raiders have struggled, but you can see they've got the foundation to kick on in seasons to come with the two Ethans at 6 and 7. How do you rate the business and the cap moving pieces of the Raiders?
It seems every year that they have like a bit of a rebuild, though, doesn't it? At the Raiders, I feel sorry for Ricky Stewart at times because, the players move on. So yeah, I think the two Ethans at the halves will be brilliant in the years to come. Both very young, both very good players. One of them's already an Origin player and an international player, as Ricky Stewart said he would be. The big front rowers are obviously a huge part of the the retention because they're going to lose Papali'i, it looks like. There's also the injuries to the back rower, Hudson Young. So it's important that they keep the cornerstone of them players together. Good business again from the Raiders. What a fall from grace this year, mind you. From minor premiers in 2025, probably the biggest fall of grace in the NRL this season when you look at it.
No, agreed. Well, that wraps it up this week for the NRL news. We're going to get straight into the NRL Round 22 results and analysis. If you enjoyed this segment, the full 90-minute podcast with all 5 segments is linked below, where we discuss the latest Super League and NRL news and results, plus the bonus segment of Question Cookie each week. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified of all future content uploaded by NRL Insight UK. Thank you for your continued support, and see you on the next one.